A warm welcome to everyone joining us from all over the world. We are here at the beautiful and sunny Slovakia ring for round number 2 of the Clio Cup series. We are here at the beautiful Slovak racetrack, and what better way to start off the season, of course, for the second round than with race 1 here on Saturday. And it's been an incredible weekend so far. There's been a lot of sun and a lot of on-track battles, even in free practice, as the series, of course, promotes so many battles and so much drama as well. And we are ready for yet another round. Last year it was so successful to come here at the Slovakia ring, and this year we are promised much more racing just like this one. In pole position, we have Tomáš Pekar here for Clio Cup. He's been the quickest in qualifying, and of course, he's going to try and take the win here in race number 1. But watch out for second place, Filip Živok, who's starting alongside him on the front row of the grid. We have seen many races here at the Slovakia ring go down to the wire, even down there at the final corner of the racetrack and of the race itself, for the battle, for the lead. And of course, let's not forget about the second row that sees Oskar Marzelkowski start in 3rd position and Bartolomiej Mirecki in 4th place. We're ready with race 1 here of Clio Cup. The drivers are now on the grid. We are ready to start, and we are ready to see who's going to be the 3rd winner perhaps, or if we're going to have a repeated winner here in Clio Cup. But join us for the action for race 1 here at the Slovakia ring. And here we are with the images from the starting grid of Clio Cup. Series coming to the Slovakia ring for the second round of the season, with more than 20 cars ready to take on the 5.9-kilometer racetrack for what is race number 1 of this weekend and race number 3 of the season. And here we have car number 75, who lines up on 12th position, is Xaveri Osolonsky Nirolka. The pole ready to start from the 6th row of the grid, whereas right behind him we see Dejan Robida and Ivan Prantner. And here is the entire starting grid for Clio Cup. Tomáš Pekar, as we were talking about, on the starting grid with the orange and black livery, is in 1st place. The Czech driver for Campek Service led the teams 1-2 in qualifying, as Filip Živok starts in 2nd position right alongside his teammate after a phenomenal performance in qualifying that even saw Pekar beat the entire field by almost 0.6 of a second. Speaking of car per service, here we have another one of their cars. It's Jan Raška in 16th position, as the the Slovakian driver is going to round out the 8th row of the grid. We have 21 cars ready to take on the fight here at the Slovakia ring. Here we are with Raška, who's getting ready, and of course his team are helping him to cool down. It's a very hot day here at the Slovakia ring. There was, and there still is, a slight chance of rain for today as well, though so far so good for our Clio Cup drivers. Not just them, we're still waiting for the first signs of rain, though that it's not going to happen at this moment in time. And here you see the top half of the grid as the 3-minute board is now shown to the drivers themselves. Tomáš Pekar on the right-hand side of the screen, the left-hand side of the track. His teammate Filip Živok alongside him, and behind Oskar Marjalkowski, the pole, starting from third position for Yannick Motorsport in their usual red and white livery. As we said before, it's 21 cars here for round number 2. Let's not forget that, of course, we raced already around the Red Bull Ring, and Tomasz Pekar has emerged as the leader of the championship together with Nikodem Sobchik. The latter, though, only managing 7th position in qualifying, a full second behind rival Pekar, who's at the top of the standings due to his race 2 win at the Red Bull Ring in race weekend number 1. Bartolomiej Mirecki being the other driver capable of winning, but after the first round, it's 4 drivers separated by just 4 points. We talked about Pekar and Sobchik being level with 34 points. Julian Zmiechowski right behind him with 33, so just 1 point less than the top 2 drivers. And then, of course, Bartolomiej Mirecki in 4th position, 4 points away from Pekar and Sobchik. We saw many different drivers step on the podium as we are getting ready here to start, as the 1 minute board is going to be shown very quickly and very shortly to the drivers, as the engineers and mechanics will have to leave them to their own fate as the race is getting ready to begin, at least for the formation lap itself. Here we go. We have the sign that tells everyone to step away from the cars and from the starting grid itself. And so now we're getting ready for the 3rd starting procedure of the season after the 2 that we had at the Red Bull Ring, a calendar that sees 6 different rounds touching 5 different countries. We were in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. We're here in Slovakia for round number 2. We're going to Poznan in Poland for round number 3 before a double check header in Most and Brno, before heading over to Balaton Park in Hungary for the final round of the 2025 Clio Cup season. Here we go with the 15-second board, so the cars are ready to start their formation lap before heading over to the grid for their standing start. The green flag has been waved at the back of the grid, and now the formation lap will begin with Tomasz Pekar bringing the entire field of 21 Clio cars together with him. We see here car number 91, driven by Ivan Pratner from 14th position on the grid. He's going to look for a much better result than that in this first race around the Slovakia ring, but this is a perfect time to introduce you guys to the track itself. A 5.9 kilometer racetrack situated in Oreczowo Potoń here in Slovakia. 14 corners, 7 to the left, 7 to the right. In a racetrack that is quite recent for circuit history. It was built between 2008 and 2009, opened on October 1st, 2009, now almost 16 years ago. And it's a track that it's suited perfectly for TCR spec racing. Of course, Clio Cup being the step immediately before that, though the cars are quite similar in the way they behave and they have to be driven. Naturally, this track is known for hosting the FIA World Touring Car Cup from 2012 to 2020, with the sole exception of the 2017 season, the race of Slovakia being held here at the Slovakia ring. TCR Europe being here in 2021 as well, and let's not forget about TCR Eastern Europe, a championship that comes here since 2019 and sees the Slovakia ring as one of the unmissable events of its season. Last but not least, of course, from this weekend, we also have TCR European Endurance joining the list of TCR spec events that have raced here. The new Endurance series promoted by Mauricio Slaviero, that has started off strong last year and that is now visiting the Slovakia ring for the first time in 2025. We see now the drivers trying to put some heat into their tires. It's crucial to bring them to the right temperature window, because otherwise it's going to be quite hard for them to manage a standing start just like the one we're about to see in just a second. As you see now, cars make their way through turns 10, 11 and 12 before one of the many uphill sections of the track. It's quite a flat terrain, the one that we have here at the Slovakia ring, though the track itself has some many interesting undulation points, one of them being the one that we just saw that brings the drivers from turn 12 to turn 13. This is the back straight. We often see some moves up the inside or even around the outside of turn 13, which is technically the penultimate corner, but it is the de facto last corner of the racetrack before turn 14, which is just a small left bend that brings the drivers to the finish line. It's a very important thing to highlight this one, that the start-finish line is quite close to the final corner itself. There's just a couple of meters between the apex of turn 14 to the actual start-finish line, which means that any moves on the final lap of the race must be completed throughout turn 13 and 14, because there's no potential for a drag race exiting from the final corner towards the second starting line, the one that we will be seeing Tomasz Pekar park right behind. That is the one on the right-hand side of the screen that we were talking about, as Pekar is going to take his spot on the left-hand side from pole position. Filip Živok will start just behind him in second place, with Oskar Marżalkowski and Bartolomiej Mireki in third and fourth position. Then it's Matic Preza, Julian Zmiechowski, Nikodem Sobczyk, Filip Bartosz, Aleksander Spec and Micha Primozic in the top 10. Of course, the entire grid being made up of 21 drivers, and as we see the green flag ready to be waved at the back, we're going to turn all 5 lights on, 1 each second, and then we're going to go racing for round 2 of the Clio Cup in 2025. Lights out here at the Slovakia ring for round 2 of the season. A fantastic start for Tomasz Pekar. Can't say the same for Filip Živok, who's already lost a couple of places. Let's look at Bartolomiej Mireki as well in the white and green Clio, trying to attack Oskar Marżalkowski for second position. So far so good though for Tomasz Pekar, as the Czech driver takes turn 1 in first place, and it is Mireki up into second. Immediately a contact that sees car number 97 of Matic Preza almost going sideways and almost in a spin into turn number 1, as the cars now make their way towards turns number 2 and 3 with a couple of side-by-side moments, as Filip Živok tries to make his way up the grid after a not so happy start for the pole. As pole sitter Tomasz Pekar instead is still in the lead, ahead of Bartolomiej Mireki in second position and Oskar Marżalkowski in third place. As we can see now, the teams and drivers trying to get accustomed to the racing so far, as we see Yannick Motorsport and the Carpac service having yet another battle on track, this time for what looked like a position inside the top 10, but in the latter stages of it, as now we see all the group going through towards turns number 4, 5 and 6, starting the second sector, as Tomasz Pekar is still in the lead, though right now under pressure from one of his rivals, whereas here you can see Filip Živok now under attack from Nikodem Sobczyk, who was able to make the move up the inside and into the top 5, though right now Prezes Michowski are still fighting, with Sobczyk trying to make a move towards turn number 10. Sobczyk, the joint championship leader, he now goes up the inside, trying to make his move stick. There's also Jaka Marincek behind them, but so far it looked like Filip Živok did not have the start he wanted, and he's down to 6th position, as Sobczyk has gained 2 places up to 5th. But so far it's Tomasz Pekar in first place. But watch out as well for Bartolomiej Mireki. The slipstream, we know, has an incredible effect around this racetrack, which is such a prominent place for it to have an incredible effect. As we also see the Yannick Motorsport car of Oskar Marszalkowski trying to catch up to the top two from third. Here once again is Karpek trying to hold on, and it is again Filip Dzivok trying to regain fifth position. Quite hard though, the battle with Nikodem Sobchik. Finished third and second in the last two races respectively, as the group now handles turn number one. We see Pekar and Mirecki in the top two places, with Marszalkowski in third. Then fourth position, we see also Dzivok trying to fight very hard for fifth place now, behind car number 68, Julian Smiekowski, who's trying to hold on to what right now is fourth position, but could become potentially a spot on the podium in the next few minutes. Tomasz Pekar still in the lead, though you can see how close Mirecki is going into turn number 3 at the moment. The two of them being quite close, especially given the nature of this championship that sees such similar cars being very, very close to one another and being able to race each other quite easily. And then you can see Pekar with the number 1 car being in the lead. Of course, the number 1 just showing off the fact that he is our championship defending champion. Mirecki now trying to put him under pressure, though of course Pekar knows exactly what to do in order to take the championship, and of course a race win. Track that promotes hard battles. The same of course can be said for the championship itself, as Tomasz Pekar now rounds out the final corner for the second time in this 25-minute race around the Slovakia ring. Here they are, Pekar and Mirecki, the top 2 drivers of this race so far. They have a pretty good cushion over car number 26, Oskar Marszalkowski, in third position. It's a 2.1 second gap between the top pair and car number 26. As right now Mirecki looks to the inside, a slight lockup for Tomasz Pekar, as there's a change in the standings for the lead, as Tomasz Pekar is now forced to the outside, but he looks to have a better traction off the corner. There's a little bit of contact between the two of them, as Mirecki now goes to the inside in a very aggressive move, promotes car number 96 to the top of the pile, as Pekar is demoted down to second. As the two of them continue fighting, Pekar now looking to the outside for turn number 3, who will be the bravest on the brakes. They look to be pretty equal, and that is why car number 96 is still in front, with Bartolomiej Mirecki taking the lead for the first time this weekend, as he now moves up to what effectively is P1. Of course, a spot that he knows quite well after the opening round when he won the first race, not just of the Red Bull Ring round, but of course of the entire season. Then only mustering 8th place in race number 2 sees him 4th in the championship, but just 4 points behind Pekar, and a win today would propel him to the top of the standings once again after being in the lead following the opening race of the season. But as we were saying, there's a bit of a gap now between Mirecki and Pekar and third place, with Marszalkowski trying to hold on to third. It has to be said, however, that Marszalkowski too has quite a big gap over 4th place, which is Poland's Julian Smiechowski. Car number 68 currently in 4th position, though 2 seconds away from Marszalkowski in third. The top 2 so far doing a phenomenal job. These are the 2 race winners from Red Bull Ring. Let's not forget, as Pekar now looks to the inside of the penultimate corner, these could also mean that the drivers are working to try and understand whether a last lap move could be on the cards. Naturally, it's not that easy to say, but as you can see now on the start-finish line, Pekar is just 1/10 of a second behind, which means that a potential attack in the penultimate corner could prove to be decisive on the final lap. Let's see if anything changes towards turn 1. Pekar is on the outside, whereas Mireki is on the inside. It was the same a lap before, with the two banging wheels on top of the hill towards turn number 2. Could we see the same thing happen right now, with Mireki having once again the benefit of having the shorter line through the corner, helping car number 96 secure first place once again. Pekar seems to have a slightly better exit. Let's see if he can secure a position to the inside of turn number 3. He has done so thanks to his experience as the reigning champion, and he moves to the inside and up into P1. And he can't do anything about it. Tries to do the switchback, though he ends up running into the back of his rival. As we now see Pekar sliding through turns number 4 and 5. But this battle has enabled car number 26 in Oskar Marszalkowski a chance of coming back in the fight for the top 2, whereas here it's once again Yannick Motorsport against Karpek Service. This time it is Jakub Zmiechowski having to defend from Filip Zivok, who looks to the outside, though he has been shoved off the track by car number 68, who is now still in front for 4th position. As now we can see the fight between Zmiechowski and Zivok. Behind them, it's joint championship leader Julian Zmiechowski in 6th position. As the cars now get to the penultimate corner of the racetrack, we also see car number 777 of Nikodem Sobczyk, the only one together with Zmiechowski able to finish on the podium twice in the opening weekend of the season. The two exchanged second and third place throughout the 2 races, though Sobczyk has a crucial bonus point from qualifying, having 2nd position in the standings. And here you see Zivok making a move. However, he touched the curb at the inside of turn number 1 as he went on 2 wheels. He had to concede the position to Zmiechowski, and now Sobczyk as well has a look up the inside of turn 2. This seems to be the line to take through this corner, as the Clio does not have the aerodynamic force to stay around the outside and keep the position. Well, that is a completely different story through turn number 3. So Zivok tries to go around the outside, though that is not going to happen. So he stays in 6th for now, right behind Sobczyk. Meanwhile, Tomasz Pekar still in the lead, ahead of Bartłomiej Mireki after the overtake happened the last lap. Is now behind Zivok. You have car number 21 of Michał Primožič together with Filip Bartosz in the fight for 7th position. Here they are. The first car with the Alpine livery, and then the Karpek Service bright orange Clio of Bartosz. The Czech driver who started from 8th is still in that position, whereas Primožič was able to climb for 10th up to 7th in this opening half of the race. As now we can see Sobczyk and Zivok fighting for 5th, the latter conceding the place at the start of the lap after he tried to make a move on Zmiechowski for 4th, but ended up going wide into turn 1. Meanwhile, in front, the top 3 is still trying to break away from the rest of the field, with Pekar and Mireki having a 1 second gap over Marszalkowski before the lap that we're currently on started. That gap is going to refresh as soon as the cars cross the start-finish line for what is going to be lap number 6, and the gap has now become 2.4 seconds, meaning that Peccar and Mirecki are in fact in a league of their own when they start pushing and when they become as quick as they are right now. Meanwhile, once again, it's Sobchik against Zivok, the latter going around the outside of turn number 1, though we have seen that turn number 2 needs to be taken to the inside with these Clio cars, as maybe Sobchik is going to show us once more. And here he is. Just look at how better he was through that corner compared to Zivok, who now has to concede the position. He definitely has to try to either go to the inside into turn 1 or try the over and under on the outside of the opening corner of the racetrack, because otherwise this is not going to work out for him. Though a slight lockup from Sobchik could potentially give car number 24 a chance, but that chance proved to be non-existent, unfortunately, for Zivok. There's still 11 minutes and 25 seconds to go, however, and let's remember that once the clock strikes 0, it means that we are on the final lap of the race, thus not giving anyone else the chance of potentially gaining even more positions in a following lap, because it's not going to be there for the drivers. Tomasz Peccar still in the lead, as you can see from the drone cam. He has a huge gap over third place, together with Bartolomei Mirecki, as both of them are looking very, very good so far. As here are the two that we have already discussed about, as they look to be quite the unstoppable force here. Though it has to be said that Oskar Marszalkowski is biding his time, trying to stay as consistent as possible, and potentially hoping for one of these two to make a mistake, or even for both of them to start fighting, because that would mean that he has the chance to fight for the win. Marszalkowski taking 4th and 6th in the opening 2 races of the season, after qualifying in 2nd place and gaining 2 points as a result. As here you can see both Peccar and Mirecki moving towards turn 1, a slight lockup for Peccar, but he still holds the lead so far in this race. There's been some movement behind as well. We've seen car number 12 of Bartosz losing a couple of places. First to Matic Preza, who is starting to climb back up the order. And then from car number 5, Alexander Spetz, who's now moved back into 9th place, which was the place where he started this race from. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Filip Bartosz, who's gone down from 8th to 10th in the last 2 laps. And now he will have to defend from car number 10, Jaka Marinsek, who is desperately looking for some points. Bartosz was 4th at Red Bull Ring in race number 2, and he looked to be one of the quickest drivers out there, whereas the fight between Sobchik and Zivok keeps on giving, with the latter now resisting around the outside and now propelling himself up the inside of his rival with a slight lockup as well, as Zivok now has to try and go around the outside. He, however, seems to have a better exit of the corner, but the inside line is so crucial for the Clios, as now we see drivers move towards turn number 10, and it's once again Sobchik in front, and this is almost too close for comfort, as Primožič tries to move up the inside of Zivok, and in doing so he leaves the door open for another car, and that was Matic Preza taking the position from Primožič. Now the fight becoming very, very interesting indeed, as the drivers move towards the final 2 corners of the track. We see Zivok still behind Sobchik. now we can see also a fight behind between one of the carpet cars that is working tirelessly to try and improve their position, showing how strong this entire team really is. So now Givok goes once again around the outside of turn 1, but that is not going to work. It's the third time already that he's tried, and then he's unfortunately not been able to make the move stick. This almost allows Primožić behind them to make a move together with car number 97, Matic Preza. That is not going to happen. Let's see now if maybe a move on the cards for Givok around the outside of turn number 3. Though this seems very unlikely. There's a big lockup as well as Givok goes wide into turn 3, leaving the door open for Preza to take 6th position away from him. And that is unfortunately exactly what happened, meaning that Preza is now up into 6th and Givok down to 7th. Unfortunately, that was always going to happen. There was not enough room for all of them to stick in that corner. And so that is why we unfortunately see a change of position for 6th place. Unfortunately for Givok and luckily for Preza. As now we see Sobchik still holding on to 5th. However, he does not seem to have the pace compared to what he showed at the Red Bull Ring. Of course, there are many differences between the two tracks, although top speed and high speed corners are a constant between the two of them. So you would expect those who were very strong at the Red Bull Ring to do the same here, but that is not always the case. This is showing just that. So far, so good though at the front of the field for Tomasz Pekar, who's still in the lead. Meanwhile, Mireki is in 2nd position, maybe waiting for the perfect time to strike. As you can see now, we had another fight for 5th position. Sobchik this time being attacked around the outside from Preza, as Givok is in the mix as well. We also saw Smiechowski starting to gain over Oskar Marszalkowski for 3rd position, whereas the fight for the lead will eventually start in maybe this lap as well, as the gap that Pekar and Givok have over 3rd place is now 4.5 seconds, though watch out in the fight for 5th place, as now it's Preza who has to defend from Givok. The latter trying to maybe muster up a move up the inside of turn number 3, though that it was never going to work from that far back. Givok has been struggling a bit today with trying to find the right space and trying to make the right moves, though he still is in the top 6, which would give him very important points for the championship, not just for him but for his team as well, as Carpac Service is leading the race so far but also has a car in the top 6 compared to Yannick Motorsport, who is right now in 3rd and 4th place. So a 2nd car scoring points is of utmost importance for Carpac Service, as we now see Givok moving up the inside of Preza, and this time the timing of the move was fantastic, as car number 97 didn't know that it was going to happen in that precise moment, leaving the door slightly open at the exit of the corner, meaning that Givok is now up into 6th place once more. So Givok now up to 6th, Sobchik still in 5th, but now with a crucial 6th, 7th, 10th gap over his rivals. And maybe if the fight continues on for 6th place, this could mean that Sobchik could have the time to create a nice little gap between himself and the rest of the field. And now with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go, I guess we're starting the penultimate lap of the race right about now, as cars take roughly less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds to complete a lap, and our leader Tomasz Pekar has already started his next one. He's ready to turn number 1. Still in the lead over Bartolomei Mirecki. The feeling is that if Mirecki has anything left in the tank, he's going to try and take the fight up to Pekar on this lap before leaving the final assault for the final lap of the race. Meanwhile, Givok still fights hard, especially to the outside of turn number 1. It was always with Sobchak. This time it's Matic Preza staying to the inside. This time though, it looked to be a better run through the corner for Givok, who had the straight line speed to do so, and therefore he was able to keep 6th place from Preza, though this fight enables Sobchak to gain up to 1.7 seconds at the start finish line, and maybe even more now that the two behind him have fought throughout turns number 1 and 2, meaning that Sobchak is now in stable conditions up in P5. Ahead, it's been a masterclass for Pekar and Mirecki, as the two of them have a 7-second gap over the Yannick Motorsport duo of Marszalkowski and Zmiechowski, though the Pole, who is currently in 4th position, seems to have a slightly better pace than 3rd place Marszalkowski. So far here is the fight for the lead, and as I was saying, if Mirecki has anything left in the tank, he has to use it now to try and put Pekar under pressure, but the reigning champion has looked flawless so far today, with a phenomenal performance that saw him jump to 2nd slightly in the opening stages of the race, before then taking the lead once more and never giving it away from the halfway point onwards, as now Pekar is going to round out the final 2 corners to start the final lap of the race here at the Slovakia ring, as Tomasz Pekar now starts the final lap with Bartolomei Mirecki right behind him, gap being less than a second since lap number 1. Only 7/10 covering P1 and P2. Marszalkowski in P3, meanwhile, losing yet another 1.8 seconds over the top 2. However, that looks to be enough to defend from Zmiechowski, who's still a second behind in 4th. Sobchak, Givok and Preza in 5th, 6th and 7th respectively, with then the rest of the field down to 21st position. Here he is, Pekar, as the clock strikes 0. He's still in the lead. He only has 1 more lap to go. 11 more corners now that he's done with Sector 1, before bringing home the 2nd consecutive win of the season, thus becoming the sole championship leader after being the joint leader of the standings following the opening round, together with Nikodem Sobchak, though Pekar was the, in fact, 1st place driver. Meanwhile, here we go with the fight for 3rd place that sees Marszalkowski and Zmiechowski fight for 3rd place, with the 2 Yannick Motorsport teammates crucially having it out for what looks to be a final step on the podium, and it seems as though Zmiechowski has made the move stick. But meanwhile, the fight for the lead currently goes on, as Mirecki still has 1 opportunity. He looks to be slightly closer than other laps, though he has run out of time now, hasn't he? Uphill towards turn number 13 for the final time today for Clio Cup. And it's been an amazing run of form for reigning champion Tomasz Pekar. After a difficult first race at the Red Bull Ring, he bounced back in style, taking the win in race number 2 at the Austrian racetrack. And now, as he rounds out the final corner of the race, Tomasz Pekar is going to take the checker flag to win race 1 of the Clio Cup here at the Slovakia ring. The 2nd round of the 2025 season sees the reigning champion once more on the top step, as Mireki finishes in second, and in a drag race for third, it's Jakub Zmiechowski who takes it over fourth place Oskar Marżalkowski, as Sobczyk then takes fifth place ahead of Zivok and Preja in seventh. Eighth position goes to car number 21 of Miha Primozic. But the win is for Tomasz Pekar, and what a fantastic time he's had here. A phenomenal showing in qualifying, taking pole by almost 0.6 of a second before taking home race number 1 here at the Slovakia ring for a second consecutive win in the series, as the reigning champion is now the sole championship leader, just edging out Bartolomiej Mireki in this first race. The Pole had an amazing time here at the Slovakia ring and still brings home a very deserved second position. A thoroughly entertaining race. I saw both of them leapfrog the rest of the field, and in the end it was Tomasz Pekar who took home the race win here from the Slovakia ring. All cars now crossing the start finish line, getting ready to get back to the pits, as Pekar and Mireki finished 1 and 2 in a phenomenal performance for both Karpek Service and BM Racing Team that brought Mireki to second position. Here, all the fans that came here to watch not just Clio Cup but the rest of the program as well. Very busy program here at the Slovakia ring, though Clio Cup has for sure entertained the crowd, as we now see the highlights of race number 1 here at the Slovakia ring for round 2 of the Clio Cup. And what a phenomenal race here at the Slovakia ring, with a phenomenal win for Tomasz Pekar in first position, just ahead of second place finish Bartolomiej Mireki, who has showed fantastic consistency throughout this race, as now the cars are heading back to the pit lane. I thank you for being with us, and let's not forget that we also have a second race coming up tomorrow on Sunday, June 8th, as the Clio Cup opens up the program for Sunday at 9:25 local time. This is the top 10 with Pekar, Mireki and Zmiechowski on the podium, with Poland putting 5 drivers in the top 6. Congrats as well for Alexander Speth being the only Swedish driver in the top 10. Thank you for being with us, and see you guys tomorrow for race 2 of the Clio Cup here from the Slovakia ring.